We've seen 4 teams, and we've still got another 4 teams to show you. Next up is SoaR up against the Randozos. SoaR had a pretty good run so far, now sat on 7 points totally. Randozos only managed to find that 1 point so far.
Yeah, but it's still impressive because they started off their split with winning against Envious, and we saw Envious earlier on the day. They were able to find a split in their set against Denial, which we didn't expect, at least I didn't expect that.
I mean, you can't overlook Randozos here as well with how they've been playing so far this split. Yes, they've only taken 1 win, but they did face Eager and Denial as well. And even in those games there, they did put up a very good fight in the early stages of the game. The first 10-15 minutes, they actually set the pace quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, SoaR on the opposite end, like you mentioned, 7 points already. They were able to find a split against Luminosity, 2 wins against Envious, and 2 wins against Eager.
So they're a very good spot of SoaR right now coming into this game against Randozos. We'll see how these 2 teams do, because obviously SoaR, with the roster change they've had so far this split as well, doing things, but they're not the only ones. Randozos, really, the only 2 remaining members of the squad that we saw last split was Whalrus and Wubbn. They've been joined by moswal, Mirage, formerly known as Dirty Bubble, and then Ghost Creeper.
Yeah, Ghost Creeper, however, though, he did join Luminosity as a sub now, so it's going to be Wowy in his place for the remainder of the split, and it's going to be interesting to see if that's a different dynamic for this duel lane of Randozos.
Well, we'll see what they do, because they picked a whole lot of Ho-Yi this split, Randozos. However, since the changes to Ho-Yi, maybe that'll start to drop out of favor. We have seen the rise of the mages even more so now.
As a result of the golden bow, the throwing dagger not available now for those hunters in early laning phase. This allows the magical hunters to survive that early laning phase to get to the mid to late game.
Well, let's see how SoaR want to start things off and whether they want to try and get themselves a priority pick here with their first pick, first ban opportunity.
More than likely, they want to set up andinster, I would expect. You want to have a really good jungler to have a really great start for the rest of the game.
Yeah, good point indeed. However, it's going to be Vulcan straight away taken off the table. So this is definitely going to put something, even Fafnir, Nemesis, Wukong or Susano through. Guaranteed.
A nice target ban away from moswal. We've seen his Vulcan in the past sets. Even though he hasn't found too many wins, it was still a dominating performance. He was always not at the top player damage, but he was up there.
Completely agree. moswal very, very good with that Vulcan, so wise to ban it away. Randozos will respawn though with the Fafnir, making sure that does not go over to Jigz on SoaR Gaming.
And Jigz, his god pool is very vast. The fact that he's not going to get Fafnir is not going to hurt SoaR in the long run at all. They're still going to be looking for their jungle first pick opportunities. This could be another targeted ban. Nemesis potentially could be left open.
Could be indeed. And the funny thing about this squad of SoaR this split as well is the fact that it's kind of a super team that's been formed out of them. A lot of people look into this team to potentially be the one that rises above most over in North America just because of the talent on this roster to begin with.
And we've seen super teams before develop in the past where it hasn't really worked out for them. Envious specifically in the last split collapsed very quickly upon themselves. SoaR, however, have been pretty good pace this far, only finding 1 loss in a split.
Well, Wukong banned now by SoaR Gaming. Back to Randozos. Nemesis is still available here, but so is Susano. So it's going to be an interesting choice which one Randozos want to face off against.
I would say leave both open and then get one or the other. At least now giving Nemesis down, banned, is going to give Susano option for andinster, unless he goes for the Thor.
Well, we saw andinster in the jungle on it, and they're not even going to look at picking that up. Instead, they've gone for a very safe option with this Sol. Very flexible pick in terms of Hunter or the mid lane for this as well. Snoopy definitely available to play this, as is Metyankey.
And I love the idea and mindset from SoaR to leave both of those junglers between the Susano and the Thor open. You pick up the Sol. Randozos will pick up one of those junglers. SoaR will pick up the other. Well,
Randozos do have the option now, and they will pick up Raijin straight away. Susano still left available, and I don't think you can let that go past now, Tolly.
Raijin is pretty strong. We haven't seen it earlier today quite yet, but paired up with the Ratatoskr, we've seen Snoopy play the Raijin, which is maybe why Randozos didn't want SoaR to really get it.
Good point. Maybe we'll see how he does now, because that kind of means that that Sol more than likely could go either way, ever to be said. However, we've seen a lot of hunters come out of Snoopy just lately, other than Raijin. That's all he's really played.
Whether it's the Ram or the Uller, he's known to play hunters in the past.
He could definitely do it too. I mean, that's the only other mage we've really seen Snoopy play is Raijin Vulcan. Bacchus locked in though for SoaR, going to go over to Jigz this time round. They're also going to lock in Thor, so Susano not going to be in this great game. How interesting.
It's smart though to not to ban or pick your jungler right now before the secondary ban phase, because Randozos has the option of picking their jungler and then banning the other junglers away from andinster. Now having Thor and Bacchus, 2 great initiators, 2 great frontliners for SoaR, this gives a lot of flexibility with the rest of their picks.
Let's talk about flexibility. They're blocking Guan here, who can go into the support role with that sustain or into the solo lane if that's how they so choose here. We'll see whether or not we do see that, because both Whalrus and Wubbn will be willing to play him.
A lot of hunters off the table from Randozos. They recognize that they don't know where that soul is going. Just going to take away Neath and Rom. Two pretty good flexible picks for Snoopy in mid.
Very, very fast ban phase there. As you can see, all the hunters taken out. Neath, Rama, Ul, Jingwei. We could just see more mages coming at them because of that. And as I say that, Chronos is locked in.
Chronos immediately locked in for Randozos. Is going to be taken into the dual lane. It could be potentially solo lane. We haven't seen it this split, but it's still effective.
How about Freya Raven here as the last two picks? They've got the physical with Thor and then Raven to add into that one. Maybe even the Osiris as an option.
That would be a little bit too much magical for Freya Raven because you don't have the late game physical side. It's very important to find some sort of damage because you want your Thor to build relatively tanky, but it's going to be the Janus, which is good mobility. So it's not going to be hyper late game carry burst out of sword between the Soul and Freya like you were thinking about. It's going to be good mid game damage with Janus and great mobility.
Great mobility and supportive nature with the thresholds and those pulls to get the teammates out of trouble too. Snoopy expanding his god pull for this game. Randozos though, their final pick needed, and it should give us a telltale sign where Guan Yu is going to end up.
It's going to be against the Amaterasu. You don't want to put Guan Yu in that matchup. You'll get silenced out of your Tallow Assault all the time, making you not be able to clear is a big problem. So probably going to be some Wukong, maybe Tyr, maybe Raven is available, Arlong Shen.
There's going to be some Wukong for the solo lane here, I feel, up against the Amaterasu in the early stages. Well-running composition from both two teams here. We said a little bit maybe mage-heavy in terms of SoaR Gaming with a Sol and Janus, but it's not something we've not seen before here.
It's not an issue, I would say, for SoaR to have Sol and Janus together because the long-range setup from andinster with his stun, as well as the knockup from Jigz, may allow his Metyankey and Snoopy to just go off.
Well, there's quite a few slows on the side of SoaR Gaming in this game. That's why Randozos already. Wubbn going to start things off with Sprint on the Guan Yu. Both would watch his gift for the supports. However, his lineup opposition here, Jigz, has gone for the sustain option with the Meditate start.
It seems that Jigz really likes that Meditate start because this allows him to play aggressive, trade out poke, get off the early meditation so you don't have to commit to using your potions. You save them for later.
You saw Randozos group up there looking for deep wards in the jungle if they could find them. Actually, I'm telling lies. There was no real deep wards coming out there from them at all because they've all gone for potions. They were looking for a pick there, totally.
It's now andinster that drops the ward. Looking at his situation, he has 2 health pots. His build is complete, so he doesn't have really time to back to base. Not going to have any multi-pots or mana pots.
It does seem that SoaR's duo lane want to go quite aggressive here up against Wubbn and Wowy. You can see that by the fact Metyankey started Soulstone on the Sol as well. Lacking health in that, but does provide an extra bit of burst of damage because of that too. Combining that with Jigz, they do have opportunity kill potential here if they can do it right.
And that's why he went the Soulstone, because he's relying on Jigz to absorb all the damage in the laning phase. If Jigz finds the belly flop, all the archers will turn to him, and that's why he has the meditation. He's expecting to get poked out.
Nice little old stable vortex there coming out from Snoopy. He's actually going to help with the back hoppies more often than not, but he also gets hit onto the buff as well to make sure he brings it down nice and quick. So pretty good cleanup there from SoaR at the start.
It's all about how you can min-max any sort of start that you can do. Already SoaR and Snoopy doing a great job min-maxing, hitting moswal while clearing the wave.
And we mentioned Soulstone, well also Snoopy's starting Soulstone here as well, and that's why that extra burst kind of came through. You saw that unleashed on the unstable vortex. Right-hand harpy's going to go the way here of SoaR. However, the wrap around behind from the Randozos is here, and SoaR recognize it. Snoopy going to go for the pull. Look at that little juke in and out to get away.
Great backstep preventing the stun, because immediately behind Mirage was Whalrus. Great call overall from Baskin. SoaR just already with the communication.
Yeah, so they lose the right hand harpies, but pick up the left instead. SoaR Gaming here, as well as the fire elementals. We tune in with duo lane, and the trades are happening. For the most part, it's focused on farm.
And so far, so good for Randozos, I would say, in the duo lane, because Jigz hasn't been too aggressive quite yet. He's been using his potions instead of electing to go for an early meditation. Sometimes he likes to go for the early med.
And they're going to go look for the extra aggression onto Wowy here still. Only level 3, has purification, however, but has to play this very, very carefully and keep poking him down. And already his potions are now being consumed.
And they don't have to worry about this rotation. The mid lane gets spotted out. Nowhere fear for them to play aggressive. SoaR able to clear out the archers, and they should be aggressive. Whalrus taking a lot of poke, but on the same side of Baskin.
Yeah, blue stone for both of them here, so it's a little bit risky, but there's a tiger stun coming out from Wubbn onto Baskin. Fantastic poke once more from the Randozo solo lane.
Still has 2 health pots and multi-pots to work with, whereas Whalrus only with 2 health pots on his side, just now utilizing 1, and that's going to allow Baskin to really start winning these trades.
Well, we have Mirage over here on the Ratatoskr in the jungle, as you can see, considering going aggressive, but clearly Baskin sitting up under the tower, farming up in terms of health, and just waiting for that wave to come in.
Not being level 5 on the Ratatoskr means you have to kind of be very obvious with your gank attempts, especially with Baskin playing under his tower. He's not level 5 yet, so there's no reason for him to leave the tower. Mirage now rotating to the mid. He wants to try to clear this out and maybe look for his own back left.
Well, he could look for the duo lane here. If he notices how pushed up they are, now that he's level 5, he could rotate over that side of the map, but instead it's going back towards Baskin's side of the map, and you can see the pressure onto Whalrus there, who's just used his ult. Baskin looking to get away, but the ult is on the mark, and first blood should go the way of the jungler Mirage.
Mirage with a great first blood. On the flip side, though, andinster barely off the mark, but he's still going to respond with a Berserker Barrage clean up. Finally, I thought he was going to walk out for a quick second.
I was actually just keeping an eye on his abilities there, just to see if he had a dash available anytime soon, but not to be the case. andinster with a good return kill there. Baskin falling down doesn't hurt them too much overall, just because Amaterasu's early game generally seen as weak anyway.
Well, it was a great idea for Baskin to try to trade off these ultimates because Amaterasu's ultimate is shorter cooldown than some Wukong. And now andinster on the backhand side, Whalrus, his ultimate's down with a nice silence. This is going to be really good poke because of the teleport being down, so you want to exploit that fact.
And already you see the potions being popped that Whalrus just came back with there. Left-hand side, however, SoaR realizes an opportunity by all this pressure on the right, especially with Mirage being down. They go into the jungle, invade the red buff, and give it over to Metyankey.
With moswal rotating for the speed buff, helping out Mirage. This leaves red buff exposed. Great rotation from Snoopy, helping out his dual lane. And with that, that's going to hurt moswal a little bit.
Oh, andinster under pressure over in the solo lane, but Baskin is back there to help him now. And you just saw Snoopy hiding around in the jungle just in case. Actually used a 3 space and time, I believe, to make sure he got there in time.
Just not going to worry about any team fights. The rest of SoaR grouping up for their own speed and blue buff. moswal grabbing the right side mid harpies, while the rest of SoaR, they were doing their own boards now, waiting for the left mids to spawn.
Good little call from the dual lane from SoaR there, just to rotate in, make sure they soak it, and don't give Randozos an extended lead in the mid lane, especially with all the pressure that we've seen in solo lane so far.
So far, so good. Solo lane action. There's not much kill confirm on the Gold Fury, so risking their strategies to invest it to try to shut down one of these, carry potentials between some Wukong and Amaterasu is not a bad idea.
Well, the first base in the dual lane comes out for Wowy here on the Chronos. Immediately back to base and immediately picks up the Doom Mob. Meanwhile, Metyankey here going for a little bit more physical protection in this build early on. It will help a little bit against Guan, I guess, but not against the Chronos.
It's going to be difficult to get away from the cavalry charge. Maybe getting that Dynasty Plate helmet should keep him alive, but he finishes off the Mad Guy's boost before finishing off Dynasty Plate helmet, wanting to get the mobility now. SoaR going to get met. Randozos moswal having to Thunder Crash away, still holding on to his purification.
I like Randozos' idea here, and with the hammer being down, that's why they're poking under the andinster a bit, going to force his ultimate. The portal was available there, use the ultimate to Snoopy to give him some aggression, but he's not going to go aggressive here. He's going to go far mid lane, as in the jungle, Whalrus being pressured a little bit, but as being some Wukong, he can just skip away in that Ox form.
A nice rotation from Metyankey, but the team fight is done, and now that's going to give a free wave to Wowy, able to make the rotation to get his own back left. He's going to get a slight experience lead and catch up to Metyankey.
And not only that, Doom Mob as well, continuing to stack up for Chronos in the solo lane, in the dual lane. We saw that a little bit earlier on today with the Chronos as well. Focused very, very heavily when they had the Doom Mob, but this time round, for now, he's just been able to farm up. I like the hold of this, though.
Yeah, just making sure that you support your support by giving him some golden experience. There's no reason not to. When you have all the time in the world to come back in, but in the solo lane, there's no time for Baskin to survive.
There's no time for anything other than to talk about solo lane here. It's just constant aggression on this side of the map. I say that, but now Andy's changed his mind and gone to duo side. The rewind, though, on the mark from Wowy. He gets out of the danger zone just in time.
So close. Oh, what an impressive rewind from Wowy. Just not enough damage. andinster only level 8. Not enough points into his Berserker Barrage. He's maxing out the double tap.
Yeah, the double tap really coming through from looking for that poke with the wall afterwards for the time being. But it was a good gank on the left-hand side there. Obviously, Wowy did use rewind and also used his purification.
I'm surprised that andinster doesn't have 2 points into his stun to get more damage off of the double tap right away. Instead, he gets level 1 stun. Sometimes when you get the long distance stun on the Rift, at the very end of it, because of the travel time from the origin point, it doesn't really confirm your double tap sometimes.
Well, you saw andinster stay on the left-hand side there because his ultimate was up in the next 5 seconds, and I wanted to see, they were trying to potentially look for Wowy one more time, but instead of return back to base, continue working on his Void Shield that's coming through, which is on pace with Mirages across the way in Randozos.
We've normally seen this style between junglers recently with the Void Shield. I think ever since Dimi started doing it in the solo lane, people are like, we can do this. We can
Item's
go
pretty
Void
good.
Shield. This item's pretty good. Yeah, you want to be able to dive the backline, and the characters such as Thor and the Ratatoskr, you have to pick this item up.
Well, Randozos focusing on farming in the early game. That's where their strength has been so far, even though they do have a kill lead here as well. They get the right and Harpies as a 4-man unit and those 5 elementals. But andinster, well, he switched things up this game. He used to always be about the solo lane for a little while, and now it looks like he's focusing on the duo.
Sometimes you have to switch things up. You don't want to be read like an open book, especially if you want to try to shut down this Chronos. It's a great idea from andinster overall.
However, Metyankey's a little bit far forward on that left-hand side now. Just in time, though, he gets back to the safety with the rotation coming out from Randozos, the calls from SoaR. On point with this one, and you continue working and farming this wave out.
Look at these wards from SoaR on the left-hand side. They really want to spot out any rotation. They see the Ratatoskr coming to Gold Fury, going to back off instantly as Metyankey. No problem for him.
I think the main reason for that is because Mirage has been involved in both those kills, got the first 2 kills of this game on Ratatoskr, and wherever he goes, it's dictating the pace. And so I don't think they want him to dictate it. They want to be the ones in control, not having to counter-engage all the time.
Well, they have really good counter-engage tools between the Thor and the Janus, so I don't think it's the end of the world. But at the same time, I'm looking at Wubbn, who is on the Guan. You have to worry about his team fights.
I'm looking at the pressure one more time on to Whalrus in the solo lane. Forced to ultimate immediately after andinster rotates in. No ultimates used by SoaR there, remember that. So they still have them available to go aggressive on the monkey once more.
Which is great because Amaterasu can easily set up the Thor initiation. And look at this, andinster is not done yet. His ultimate's available. He's looking for the play onto Whalrus without his ultimate.
Looks behind him to check for a rotation coming out, and I think he may have just seen that from max range. But that wall, after Marcus, the silence comes through. Whalrus taking a bit more poke, but with the support of the rat in place, Baskin's under a bit of pressure as the cavalry charges here.
The defensive ultimate from Baskin trying to buy time, but he's too low. Wubbn confirming the kill, sustain, trying to top off, but here comes the rest of SoaR.
Flop onto Mirage, a little bit off the mark there from Jigz, so Randozos disengage after picking up a kill on Baskin.
I'm surprised that andinster didn't ulti instead of going from the side with the wall. He was a little bit off the mark. I feel like if he went in the air and then before he landed, Baskin set him up for an easy landing with his own ultimate. That should have been a free kill onto Whalrus.
Was he a little bit afraid of maybe we see Whalrus get out under the tower, so he went to hold it so he could secure it afterwards, or just maybe for a disengage in case the rotation comes through like we saw?
I think andinster was confident that they could find the kill without the use of the double ultimates. They wanted to keep going for poke, bully out Whalrus away from lane without committing to those ultimates. Maybe look for a counter engage. Maybe if they find the kill, then they can go for speed.
Well, we mentioned Randozos. I mean, their start of their game is very consistent for the most part. They get off to a pretty good start. They're very focused on farming and have found a couple of good picks against SoaR, who have answered back pretty well so far.
They've been so far so good. They found the first blood. They found 2 more after trading on their own side, and now still trading in the solo lane. Whalrus feeling very confident about taking these exchanges.
An important game for both these two teams. SoaR really need the 2-0 to climb in the standings here and try and catch up to the top boys, especially with Denial dropping that 1 game today. If they can find the 3 points here from the 2 sets, well, they'll put themselves on 10 points overall. And across the way, Randozos, obviously, they want more than 1 point in this split.
That's true. They're both looking really solid, SoaR and Denial. So those 2 teams, and which is interesting to say Denial in the talking discussion because they've been, that 4th or 5th spot team. SoaR, ever since they started in the last split with the roster, they've just always been credited with such potential success.
At the same time, though, the roster's kind of changed a little bit this time around, especially with the addition of Hurrywin and Homie F8 to that one. But then you talk about what SoaR lost. Well, look what they gained. andinster and Snoopy. Both upgrades for both those 2 teams, I feel.
That's true. It's interesting to talk about those changes because there's more land experience on one, but there's more synergy, I would say, between Homie and Hurrywin on the other side.
Yeah, blue buff's being taken down by both teams on the right-hand side there. No invade coming out whatsoever between those. andinster's about to have his speed buff spawn, and Snoopy's going to be there to soak the experience. And most people are actually at level 12 already or higher, so those second relics are starting to come through.
Really great poke from Baskin. He knows that his sustain at this point with his aura almost maxed out allows him to take these traits. Breastplate of Valor has finished for him despite being 1 level behind, and that's why he's going to tank this tower no problem and dive.
Keep putting the pressure on. Forcing the ultimate is the main point there. Ult a little bit delayed, and I don't think he really needed the ultimate there more than anything else. However, if Whalrus comes down, there could be trouble.
That's why the ultimate was used, to try to set up andinster for the easy confirm, but it was unfortunately a little bit mistimed. Nowhere to go. Nice.
He's still alive, though, and Mirage is now coming on the back. Space and time connects! Snoopy from downtown. On top of that, now Snoopy's going to run for his life as Mirage is very angry about that situation. Speed buff on him will get him in range for the dash, and now the fight continues. 1-for-1 exchange, as now under the tower, the pressure is still on.
moswal's not done. He's trying to find Baskin, able to find the very last shot. 2-for-1 now. moswal forced to use Sanctuary, still diving. Jigz not having the belly flop.
Teleport
Wubbn
coming out as well from andinster here, trying to get back to this fight and find a pick and response. Andinster doesn't have his ultimate available here, so Randozos will back away and be happy that they potentially just got a teleport onto Thor, which is fine.
I'm really surprised that that was such an exchange between these two teams. Now, the ultimate from Baskin originally was used to force out Whalruses right off the bat because it's a shorter cooldown. That's what you really want to do always. Right? You don't even want to go for the kill. You're just going for the small wins, and as a result now, SoaR were the ones that were getting dove under their own tier 1 tower.
And Snoopy, oh, it was a good supernova from Metyankey there. You just caught it off the edge of the screen, just managed to secure his own red buff. But Snoopy saved the day for SoaR on that one.
Oh yeah, that
Honestly,
ultimate, if that ultimate didn't connect onto Whalrus, then overall, SoaR would be on the deficit.
Whalrus would have lived, and on top of that, they would have potentially lost the team fight even worse as well, which would have been spelled disaster for the boys of SoaR. But in the end, he secures that 1 kill. However, Randozo 6-2 now.
They're in the lead, surprisingly enough. They have a 1,400 gold lead, 2,500 on the experience side. They've been able to look for the aggressive plays and the counter plays.
And immediately they force andinster's ultimate again because he went for the wall double tap. Snoopy forced out as well on the backside, and it's SoaR on the defensive once more. Whalrus swinging around the back here onto Snoopy, though, from the solo lane. Going to apply a little bit more pressure with that bluestone and those Jingu bangs.
He has the meditate. He has some health pots. He's trying to look for poke. Baskin's doing the same thing on the opposite side, trying to poke out Wubbn so that Snoopy can grab these right mid harpies.
And those right harpies will go the way of SoaR there, so answering back a little bit in terms of experience. Left-hand side, still the tower on that left-hand side for Randozos has been chipped away at quite nicely from Metyankey so far, I want to say, as Doom Up has been finished and fully stacked for Chronos.
You have to be careful about rotating from the dual lane because either Chronos or SoaR will take your tower, and immediately Randozos, they're feeling confident about maybe positioning themselves to start this gold.
Well, they may have understood that andinster might be on that right-hand side, but now he's rotating through mid lane, is the jungler for SoaR. 4 members of Randozos still slowly pulling this, but I think they're trying to force a fight more than attempt the Gold Fury.
It seems that way, as the rest of SoaR Gaming, they know Randozos' plan, they back off, they don't even fully commit. Oh, they have such a good triangular formation of sentry wards, 1 at gold, 1 on the bottom right, which doesn't even see the other ward from SoaR.
There's a fantastic start as well, I want to say, for Wubbn here, 1-0-3, and I believe that's 3 stacks online for the Urchin already. What a time to be alive as a support player. Less than 50 minutes in the game and you're at 3 stacks. That's a dream, that is.
And now he's level 12. He's able to pick up his 2nd relic. This gives Randozos a small window to maybe force a teamfight. Jigz still hitting level 11. He hasn't finished his secondary defensive item after Mark of the Vanguard, so I'm really hoping that Wubbn finds this back 2nd relic and Randozos forces a teamfight.
What do you want to see out of the 2nd relic though, Tolly? What's the big thing that you should be looking for?
Shell. It has to be shell. There's no shell for the side of Whalrus, and that's a huge teamfight relic that you just have to pick up.
I mean, it helps absorb some of the through space and time unstable vortex, and I guess intoxicate as well is one of the other things. And then not forgetting the guy who's on your screen right now, Sol, Metyankey, going to be able to burst a hell of a lot during these team fights.
Although if it wasn't going to be shell, Curse would have been a decent option to replace it, because looking at the side of SoaR, they don't have a sprint available, and more than likely Jigz would have had to pick up the shell, and with these double meditations from SoaR, that would mitigate some of the effectiveness use of it.
Well, we see a lot of different builds coming out from Sol players overall, whether it's focused on the abilities and just the raw damage from the items that they get, or it's things like telekines that you can see there, which kind of focuses on those in-hands. A few of the players actually really liking the telekines on SoaR because of the extra damage you're getting from it.
That's true. Limiting the attack speed with Curse is a nice idea. In the mid lane, though, off the mark, but the wall is going to be good enough trying to stop the dash from Mirage, but you don't have to worry about any of that damage when you have Wubbn right around the corner.
But look what Mirage just did there. He got all in potentially and just walked away. Didn't panic, didn't dash immediately, had his purification and his sanctuary still up, and just went, okay, your ult's down now, and I'm still full health.
With that, Whalrus going to just go into the jungle, look for the rotation from Baskin, wait for a play to happen. He's going to barely juke away the Tiger Stun. Baskin going to clear out the wave. Meanwhile, in mid, both teams positioning themselves for more poke.
Yeah, more poke is definitely important, especially with the left and right harpies coming up as well. It will give you a bit of a control around that area. 4 members of SoaR this time around this right-hand side. Metyankey even thinking about heading over towards mid. He feels there may be a contest, especially with Wowy rotating too.
This is the problem with going for right side mid harpies at 16 minutes. You're exposing yourself to the Gold Fury, and that's why SoaR was second-guessing themselves with wanting to leave it exposed for too long.
Well, the way Randos has been playing now, they're making andinster to hold his hammer a little bit more here, but here's some aggression onto Baskin for a little bit. Jigz going to zone away 3 members of Randozos who come from mid lane, but Wubbn's had enough and actually pops the cavalry charge there. The drums of war are sounded, Mirage in the sky looking for picks. Snoopy already used a portal to disengage for now, though.
Snoopy used during space and time, having to disengage. It looks like in the mid lane, though, Metyankey by himself. There's not much cooldowns for Randozos to really chase that kill, but with a nice
conviction,
meditation and conviction, that's going to top Randozos off. They can keep playing aggressive.
And that's the call now from SoaR to just disengage and go back to farming. andinster's already on the right-hand side, so Whalrus has to respond to this, otherwise they will look again. That's tier 1 tower.
I like this play from SoaR, putting those 2 jungler and soul laner on the right, because their teleport was up anyway. If Randozos had forced the Gold Fury, this could be an immediate response.
And this is a forced response out of SoaR. Now, teleport has been used. I'm not sure who that was actually by. It was by both of them, indeed. Both Baskin and andinster teleporting in, and they've pulled the Gold Fury to themselves, but teleporting as well from Whalrus means we're going to see a straight-up 5v5.
Great recognition from SoaR that the fact that he would teleport behind the Gold Fury. Snoopy taking so much damage in mid lane.
Pull. He does manage to get out. His Jigz managed to flop on, and it's gone to the sky, though, with Thor. He gets 3 men with the Berserker Mirage. However, this disdain from Randozos is just too good to stop him now.
They're trying to find more damage. Wowy getting poked out. As long as the team fight still occurs, Randozos has Guan Yu for the sustain. Rewind is available for Wowy. The ultimate from moswal was used earlier on, so that's why they weren't able to find Snoopy.
It's a very tight game though, Tolly. I mean, no one's really given much up in these team fights either. You may see one member fall, but nobody else can really achieve any objective off the back of it.
And this is how important it is for SoaR. Like we mentioned before, in this split, all the teams in both North America and Europe, they can take games off of each other. It's dependent about how you play from behind, more importantly.
It's true. Well, they're not completely behind right now. There is a lead for Randozos that's been established since the start of the game in the first blood, as you can see. But the graph has slowly dipped down a little bit further in terms of gold favor for Randozos here. I think that's down more than anything else, I suggest, to the first blood and just superior farming of the waves.
And that's all the lead you really need to do to try to look for more. With that small lead, that could be a sentry or 2 that can, find somebody slipping around a corner. You look for that pick. That could open up a gold in the future.
There's a pick attempt onto Whalrus. Going to force the monkey decoy one more time out from him. He's going to pick an option wisely here. However, andinster already disengaged and heading back towards mid, just in case Gold Fury's looked at.
Just going to walk away. Back under his tower is Whalrus in the mid lane. andinster looking for a stun setup. We're going to be a nice portal onto Wubbn, but just not timing the stun quite effectively enough.
Can be a little bit difficult sometimes to make sure you get it on point, so we can forgive him for that one. It was a very good dash from Wubbn, just spamming his 2 key as fast as he could and hoping to high heaven he could get away.
I would have liked to see andinster set up the stun even before he landed, just to make sure that there was no possible way to dash into the rest of Randozos. That would have forced Wubbn to use cavalry charge on the side.
I love the fact that Baskin at the moment is 0-4-0 and he's only 400 gold down on his lane opponent. That's basically for every death he's only lost 100 gold. That's not that bad, really.
Baskin's one of the most impressive farmers in the solo lane. If you leave him alone, he'll find ways to get back into the game, whether it's Fire Giant Elementals or always getting his own back Harpies. He's just going to be a farming machine.
And now he's looking for the tier 1 tower as well. Whalrus really respecting this because I believe he may have spotted Andy in the sky here, and he was. andinster just used his ultimate there. Meanwhile, the boys of Randozos have pulled the Gold Fury here one more time. SoaR with Jigz and Sol and Janus up against him. That's a lot of burst damage on the side of SoaR. You have to respect it.
Have to respect it. Snoopy going to portal in mid. They have to be careful about grouping up. The belly flop not on the mark. Nice disengage from Randozos, getting topped off by Wubbn. Wowy going to get zoned by Baskin. Nice little sentry from SoaR, trying to get into this Gold Fury pit.
But that tier 1 tower in mid lane at the same time, Tolly's going to fall soon in favor of SoaR with how this game has been going. They've lost a couple of waves into that tower and he's been punished heavily. But now they're going to defend the Gold Fury. Randozos, Jigz on zone in duty. They will reset one more time.
Both teams just very contempt about pulling and resetting. Mirage in the sky. He could find the knockup. Ultimate from Baskin in the back.
And the Gold Fury goes the way of SoaR. Think space and time from Snoopy secured that one. Now those portals will pay dividends for the boys of SoaR as well. They collapse on, looking for moswal at the back. Yankee gets credit for the kill. Mainly as Baskin, though, that will get the kill overall. Mirage, though, still being chased out. Doesn't really have any abilities to get away for the time being. 3 will continue to chase him.
There's 3, but they're chasing for so long that the rest of the team fight is happening around the red buff. Wubbn trying to find it. And Jigz is going to fall because there's just nobody around him. andinster and Jigz Jigz fighting onto 3.
And he's going to buy some time with the ultimate to get some of his teammates out. However, Metyankey is in a world of hurt here. Has 3 members alongside him, but they may look straight for Baskin here as an opportunity. No, focuses onto Snoopy, who pulls away to the left-hand side.
There should be a cleanup if the rewind happened, but it doesn't. Metyankey finds Wowy before the rewind, and now the rest of SoaR should be able to clean this up.
And Whalrus looking for Snoopy now. Wubbn is in the back, and Mirage is back too, but he gets for a pull in time to Snoopy. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, Whalrus dealing with 2 members of SoaR. Not long enough. Baskin crediting another kill, 5-7, and Baskin still looking at going in.
Andinster with a nice teleport. Baskin going to find the stun onto Whalrus despite the juke. Nowhere for him to go. Beautiful play by SoaR, stealing the gold, finding 4 kills after Mirage has respawned.
Real respect to Baskin there. That ultimate, the first 2 hit, and really good play from Wubbn to try and juke through him with the dash, but immediately 180'd around and picked up the stun to secure the kill onto the support play. 6-7 now. Gold Fury went the way of SoaR as well, and you can just see all that damage on your screen.
Just such impressive play by both teams, honestly. SoaR was chasing Mirage for so long under the tier 2, under the Phoenix. It forced a kill onto Jigz. It forced Andinster to ulti away, but luckily he still had the teleport available to come back into the teamfight. Now, if Wowy got off his rewind in that teamfight, I would say that Randozos would turn it around completely.
Well, SoaR right now, they now have established a gold lead for the first time. Andy going up to the top here, and you can see the pressure onto Mirage on this right-hand side as the stun comes down. He's going to get silenced as well, but still dashes away for a moment. The double tap does not connect because he got to the sky in time. Space of time!
Is it good?
No, not today, Snoopy. You got 1. You ain't having 2, son.
I mean, it's still early in the game. It's only 23 minutes in. I'm sure there's going to be another ultimate highlight for him, whether it's going to be this game or the next one. But the rest of SoaR grouping up around this tower. It's very low. It should be free.
Yeah, 2 free towers in a row now in favor of SoaR here. Tier 1 in the mid lane fell a little bit earlier on. However, a bit of respect coming out from SoaR now. They know it's on these last legs on that right-hand side. It takes 1 auto attack. They'll get an opportunity eventually.
They also want to be careful about leaving Wowy left alone for too long, having to rotate his Metyankey to defend that tower. Against the Chronos, you can't leave him unchecked. He'll be able to sneak a tier 2 right under your nose.
And you notice those 2 hunters over, actually mages, I should say, in Chronos and SoaR over in the dual lane. Other than that last team fight, they didn't have a single kill to the name overall. They just continued to farm up. You can see level 19 for Wowy, and at the same time, level 20 for Metyankey now. These guys are going to start swinging for the fences.
And they've got through the early to mid phase. That's what you want to do as a magical hunter. Both of them have accomplished their role as a magical hunter. Now it's going to be dependent on how they play off of their front line. Metyankey has to wait for Andinster and Jigz to set him up with a nice stun, belly flop combination. Wowy just going to be very concept about drawing the team fight on because he has Wubbn for heals.
Yeah, Baskin's not worried about taking a bit of poke over here for the time being. However, Mirage is on the way over on Ratatoskr, and he has to respect that, Baskin, because the 2 of them together could look to apply pressure. However, he's got a rotation himself now as Andy's in the sky at the same time. Baskin ults very, very early on. So does Whalrus. However, Mirage comes in, as does Andy at the same time, and they're after Mirage.
They're going to dive a Mirage under the tower, forcing out the Sanctuary. A nice portal going to be able to barely escape, and now moswal trying to deter Mirage away.
Keeping him busy and getting Mirage out of danger. Wubbn then collapses in to help out moswal, but the pressure is still on from SoaR here. The tier 1 tower did fall on the right-hand side, so it's all good stuff. Meanwhile, in mid lane, Metyankey pressuring out Wowy as well, making sure he can't rotate.
And that's going to be very important to allow this team fight to go into SoaR's favor. They forced out Mirage. A lot of relics were used. moswal was in a little bit of trouble, forced to double relic until Wubbn had made the rotation.
Such a beautiful game between these 2 right now. It's very exciting to watch because you still can't call it at this stage totally how back and forth it's been.
Absolutely. Like I mentioned before, SoaR's looking for the burst potential between the Thor, Janus, Sol, and Baskin. But on the flip side, Randozos, the longer these team fights last, with Wubbn on the sustained Wowy having a lot of sustained damage, especially with rewind, it could favor Randozos.
When you say that, but tier 1 tower's now going to fall on the left-hand side for free as well, so SoaR strip away 1,500 gold across the map with those tier 1 towers alone.
It seems now Randozos are on the chase through space and time. SoaR not feeling very confident about the pressure, so just going to walk away.
Oh, but keeping him busy here means the speed buff gets invaded by Baskin. However, Gold Fury is about to respawn at the same time here. So there's a power play for Randozos if they recognize it at the moment. Instead, they're rotating through the jungle instead, looking for potential red buff steal.
I love this aggression from Randozos, just stripping away the red buff. Now Snoopy nor Metyankey can pick that up of their own, and that's going to give a power play to Randozos on the backside. Baskin Baskin gonna be able to silence and force out the purification. Wowy barely able to get off the rewind.
But the rewind is now down and he's on alone in the mid lane. The ult off Andinster is a little bit off the mark there. Supernova from Metyankey does connect too. And there is a dunk in. Wowy gets taken out by Metyankey. Still the game is going on.
And the team fight, the cavalry charge, setting up the long range shots from moswal. Andinster does fall under the tier 1 tower, trying to find the Tiger Stun, not able to connect, but the rest of Randozos just grouping up and healing.
Meditate and conviction use there. Tier 1 tower can be forced by Randozos now. Maybe they look for a tier 2 of the Gold Fury. The option is both theirs as Baskin does go back to base. Baskin has teleport available too, and he's going to teleport back in as the Randozos start looking for this tier 2 still.
This is the problem with the team fights for SoaR. If they're not able to find those early kills, they're in a lot of trouble. They overcommitted for Wowy. He found the rewind that he needed to, and that Wubbn was able to top off the rest of his team. Tier 2 finally falling, and now the rest of the aggression onto Baskin.
But Baskin is still alive for now. Whalrus uses his ult to try and close the gap. He may change his mind now if they're under a Phoenix. Randozos, tier 1, tier 2, and they're off on merry adventure to the Gold Fury. But guess who has his ultimate?
It's going to be Snoopy. Does
Big
he use it, though? Let's see.
The
Does he use it?
I don't think he's gonna. I think he's gonna walk around and see it's being done. And if Randozos recognize this, they should drop it in time or burst it in time. It looks like the Gold Fury is gonna go the way of but good old Randozos.
They're able to find it. There's not going to be much chase from SoaR, despite all those cooldowns being used. There could have been a potential through space and time chase, especially if you see those damage numbers come up through space and time. You might as well commit under there. It's a 3-on-5, but still.
That's true. I mean, surprised he didn't fire the ultimate off. He could have fired it at any given time there. His team could have jumped through the pause with the extra mobility it gives you too to try and close the gap and secure it. But in the end, I guess they wait to hold it for potentially the next objective on the map, which will be the fire giant.
It seems that way. SoaR now finally all respawn. They're able to position themselves around this fire giant. They're still at a decent margin here. Neither team having a lead too much in this game, but it was SoaR for a little while. Randozos off of that 2 kills and those towers, able to bring it back.
They recognize one small window they're told, and they really abuse it by pressuring mid lane with the meditation and conviction. They recognize they could get a tier 2 tower as well, and the Gold Fury just made this a completely even game again. And now we start the dance of the fire giant.
They can dance if they want to.
Well, they shouldn't leave their friends behind.
Because if their friends don't dance,
then they're going to die. That's
true.
exactly what's going to happen. 9-6.
And nobody likes that. We're going to have the rest of the teams position themselves around this fire giant. We have Whalrus knocking up 2 members, but he could be in a little bit of trouble.
Got to be careful there. The floppy's very good onto Whalrus. He's not got time to get his clone off for a very long time. Right in the sky, though, is Mirage. Coming straight down, looking for the pick onto Jigz, who is still alive. He does fall, but gets intoxicated off at the same time. Wowy, credit for the kill. Andy dunking in. Going to try and force the rewind out of Wowy. Not even needed to, because space and time goes off. Baskin versus 4 in the backside. But the boys of SoaR are on the march. They're coming through, one at a time. They're trying to pick them off as Baskin keeps them all busy.
And moswal falling yet again. Snoopy credited with a 2nd kill for this team fight. He's not done. Aggressively portaling, and he really wants Mirage. There's no relics on his side, but right behind him is another easy target. Going to be Wubbn, but Snoopy, he's in an awkward spot.
Mirage is still alive, missing auto attacks on purpose of his team, and he will go down. But all the time that they're diving, the Randozos here, SoaR are buying themselves, Randozos are buying themselves a little bit of time potentially, and make sure they don't lose a fire giant off this.
I'm surprised Whalrus survived that whole exchange. He was about 10% health after he landed back down from his ultimate form, able to teleport to the team fight, but too little too late. Now it's going to be Wubbn and Whalrus against 5 members from SoaR. Fire giant probably going to get leaned on.
Well, they could look at leaning, but look at the health of Snoopy and andinster here. I don't think they're healthy enough to really do that. Andy a little bit low on mana too. However, Baskin looking for a cheeky steal on the speed buff right under the monkey's face here. Whalrus won't be happy about this, and you can see Andy probably available with the double tap if required. He's still not going to go the way, and I believe that was defended.
It seems that way. Baskin not even wanting to try to contest it too much. Now Wubbn doing a good job positioning himself to spot out if fire giant was going to get started by SoaR, but SoaR not having those ultimates at the time and the health deficit that you mentioned means that they have to slow things down a little bit. They're very content with that small win.
Let's go. That's very, very true. Can we check healing done, please? I want to just see how good old Wubbn is doing this game. 13,000 of it on him so far. That meditation as well is also impacting this game, as you can see.
And the player damage already, Baskin and Whalrus on the top of it still at this point. Normally it's your hunters or mid-mages that start to topple it up, but SoaR, look at this. They feel that they can force out this fire giant.
I think Mirage is well aware what's going on side. He's not in the sky, he's just dashed through. Gonna get eaten by a double tap, forced to ult before the flop comes through. Very wise and avoids that unstable vortex. But fire giant is still really low and it's still been leashed. It's now resetting though, and Andy's in the sky too, looking for the turnaround.
And landing back onto moswal. He's gonna drop instantly. Nice kill by Baskin. Baskin. Mirage defending himself successfully in the back, though.
Meanwhile, Wubbn is still under pressure here, forced down, does have cavalry charge available, but wants to hold it as long as he can. The space and time from Snoopy that was fired deleted moswal, and has allowed an advantage for SoaR once more.
This is the problem with these team fights. Like we mentioned, SoaR, they have to find the burst. They found it onto moswal. Meditation wasn't used by Whalrus during that exchange. He was not in position. Great recognition from SoaR finding moswal through the wall.
I'm looking at the keeper of time here, Wowy. He's probably the only one that could really steal this one away with the build he's got online here, but he has to get to the front side line soon. Whalrus is drawing him away from the Fire Giant, however, and the Fire Giant has been reset again as the fight unfolds once more.
Great CCs onto Whalrus, finding an easy kill. Whalrus on the horse, going to force out the Sanctuary from Metyankey. The rest of the team collapsing on the left and on the top side for Wowy.
Wowy did use Sanctuary there and flop off the mark from Jigz. Wowy against 4 though, gets hit by the Unstable Vortex, gets a good stun and damage off on Snoopy, but it's still not enough to survive. Snoopy stands and Wowy falls.
Well, Randozos still hold for a little bit as the Fire Giant had to been reset. This time around it's going to be Mirage, moswal, and Wubbn trying to defend this one, but without moswal here, it's going to be difficult.
And Andy goes to the sky. They're still leeching the Fire Giant, but the Donkey is good space and time connects, and Mirage is taken to the sky. Almost deleted once more by these snipes from Snoopy.
Just great overall team play from SoaR. They get off the Fire Giant just long enough to find the kill. Somebody's still leashing onto it, so they know that they can win that small exchange and go back into it, confirm it. 32 minutes in with Fire Giant, SoaR looking very strong.
And you look at the graphs then, you'll see exactly what happened. The tier 2 and the Gold Fury went the way of Randozos. That's why they got a spike earlier on in their favor. But then all of a sudden, SoaR came back. They win a couple of engagements, get a tier 2 tower, go back to the Fire Giant, keep finding pick after pick after pick, and now the Fire Giant as well.
And as a result, they're going to head over towards Gold Fury because they want to be able to get their 6 items online before they really commit to these Phoenixes. So with this Gold Fury, with those last 2 remaining tier 2 towers of Randozos, this is going to get SoaR into that late game 4.
It's a very aggressive game, this one, totally, overall here. And is that down to whose pace has really been setting that? Has it been more Randozos setting the pace of this with all the engagements, or is it SoaR?
I would say SoaR has been consistently setting the pace. Whether or not they've been successful is a different story to talk about, though. It's dependent on Randozos counter-engaging with Wubbn and Wowy.
Well, Gold Fury goes down here. Randozos not in a position to contest it. That's understandable. However, the tier 2 tower on the left and the right is standing, but Wubbn, a little bit out of position there. He's going to get focused on a little bit, but he's tanky enough for the time being. That flop, though, will slow him down and manage to allow Metyankey to pick up the kill. moswal, though, re-engaging.
Nice stun, trying to get onto Jigz, but he's so tanky. Wowy going to get stunned out. The rewind is successful. Mirage landing on the back. moswal getting dropped again.
He got so many damage off with those drums, though. Andy on the back is very low health. However, Jigz looking for the flop to slow down Whalrus. They're looking for andinster. andinster gets a meditate off. I don't know who that was. It looks like it was Jigz. Good old Jigz to the rescue. Snoopy gets 1, and the Phoenix falls 2.
Well, we talked about late game form. It doesn't matter if there's 4 members dead from Randozos. Right away, capitalize on this is SoaR. They're going to be able to clean up the first game.
First game gonna go the way of SoaR here. Back and forth game. Whalrus gonna do what he can to slow them down, but it's too little, too late the side of Randozos. Once he get a good performance from them, but they can't find the win.
They just haven't been able to really find the objectives after their small lead. They had the first blood. I think they were up 3-1, 4-1 at the beginning of the game. They didn't find any invades that they could have. They didn't force Gold Fury when they had small windows of opportunity. They were just playing it very slow.
Well, let's have a look at Snoopy that game, because he got a few snipes off that game. Will definitely hit the highlight reel play as per usual. That one on Whalrus at the beginning of the game, always so lucky.
That was probably
it's RNG, but it's not at the same time.
This could have been like a small turning point because Whalrus, I think his teleport was available. If he comes back into this team fight, then andinster, Snoopy die for free, and then the rest of Randozos could get gold.
And here was another one as well. This actually destroyed Wowy's health bar, as you can see. It actually secured the kill. The rewind would have definitely gone through, and he would have escaped if it didn't.
And there was another rewind that got stopped around the red buff from Wowy. It's just so unfortunate, some of these rewinds not being able to impact his team fights.
I mean, Snoopy's one of these players that everyone was underestimating, especially because we've seen him play solo lane, you know, for LG last play. Didn't have a good season there. And then everyone was like, well, he's going mid lane. He's going to be rubbish here too. He only knows how to play hunters. He's starting to step up now.
That's his favorite role, and that's very important for a player to be comfortable in his role.
Yeah, very true indeed. And you can see that in the post-game stats as well. 17.7k for Snoopy there. However, the majority of the damage was the solo laners, but Metyankey started to catch up towards the end.
Yeah, Metyankey was doing a great job overall. It was a quiet game for him to start, but once these team fights started breaking out, that's what you really want out of your magical hunter, to be that big of an impact.
Really good game between these two. I'm excited for game 2 already, totally, because this one's really close. And there's the map efficiency for you guys at home. Just so you understand it, we'll be releasing an article soon. But the map efficiency is basically based off things like Gold Furies, Fire Giants, backbores, and farming efficiency of the map overall. Obviously, everyone's weighted differently, so a minion assist is not going to be worth the same as a Fire Giant. And as you continue the season, you'll understand the points a little bit more as we see the averages that these teams put up per week.
And combat efficiency is the same thing, except different styles where you're going for the player damage, the sustain. So that's the difference of these two teams, where SoaR at the end was just able to topple over Randozos off of that one beautiful exchange.
Fantastic game one coming out from the boys there of SoaR. However, Randozos did get off to a flying start. We'll see if they can do the same for game two, though. I like the aggressive play stuff from both of them there. I feel like Randozos gave as much as they got during that game.
Absolutely, but now their composition was really solid and on point, so I don't expect them to really make any much changes during picks and bans for game number 2, but I expect more of a different play style out of them, whether or not they want to start invading after the small marginal wins, because there was so much action in the solo lane, and there was no blue or speed buff invades afterwards.
That's true, they focused a lot onto Baskin there, 0-4-0 in the early stages, but they still didn't manage to capitalize on that elsewhere on the map. Maybe we see Mirage look elsewhere this game in terms of kills.
It's an opportunity for them to do so. They were successfully able to survive in the dual lane between this Chronos and Guan. They were getting out pressured to the point where their own red buff was getting invaded on right off the bat.
Very true.